Have you ever wondered what lies beneath Pluto's thick, frozen crust? What secrets could it be hiding? Today, we're heading to one of the coldest, most distant places in our solar system. A frozen world, a rocky, icy dwarf planet. Let's uncover its bizarre and fascinating terrain. Shaped by the eruption of towering ice volcanoes, we'll examine its wispy, fading atmosphere, slowly disappearing into the frigid vacuum of space, and ask, could alien life be hiding in its underground ocean? In addition, we will also visit a strange little world nicknamed the ends of the Earth. It's actually two ancient spheres fused into one. It looks just like a cosmic snowman, frozen in time. But it may hold clues to something far bigger, how planets like ours first began. In this journey, let's explore Pluto and the bizarre discoveries lurking at the edge of the solar system. In July 2015, NASA's New Horizons, the probe flew by the Pluto system, thus breaking the human race inherent knowledge of this distant dwarf planet. Pluto is not a frozen planet. Instead, it exhibited surprising, complex, and youthful landforms. One of the most astonishing discoveries is the only giant ice volcano in the solar system. Late March 2022, after a detailed analysis of the data, it was found that, southwest of Pluto, edges of new bright areas, there are big domed mountains. Its surface is uneven. One of them is called Mount Late, altitude about 5 kilometers. It's about 150 kilometers wide. It's the size of Hawaii on Earth. Mauna Loa, nearby Mount Picard. It's another big domed mountain. They are unlike hot volcanoes on Earth. It's an ice volcano. They're not spewing hot magma. It was water, ice, methane, mud mixed with other volatile substances. It oozes out like a half-frozen glacier. The reason why Pluto's ice volcanoes attracting scientists. Note, because they look very young, there are almost no impact craters in the surrounding area. This suggests that these ice volcanoes formed in a period of geological age. They're probably only a few 100 million years old, even younger. Some scientists believe that the area may still be active today, as half-frozen faces ooze from the planet's interior. The surface of the planet is being slowly reshaped, and this geological activity has allowed scientists very confused, because Pluto is relatively small. Its diameter is only 2/3 that of the Moon, and away from the Sun. So it stands to reason his internal heat should have been exhausted long ago. However, the existence of these giant ice volcanoes suggests that the planet is somehow retains enough energy to support its geological activities. This forces scientists to start to rethink how dwarf planets work, and it asks a puzzling question. What is hot? The source is still churning the interior of Pluto. Some people think the heat source is Pluto rocks, released from radioactive elements in the core. It was also pointed out that Pluto's interior there is some kind of antifreeze, such as ammonia and other substances. It lowers the freezing point of water, keep it liquid and warm. No matter the source, Pluto's ice volcanoes are all on this distant world. No hard evidence of death. During the flyby, New Horizons also observed there are huge cracks and depressions on the surface of the planet. These tectonic features reveal changes within, apparently, Pluto's soldiers. The shell had been stretched and torn apart by forces coming from below. Scientists believe that these huge cracks and faults is a sign that the subsurface ocean is slowly freezing. As incredible as it sounds, but dozens beneath Pluto's surface, even hundreds of miles, there may be a hidden sea of liquid water. Oceans expand when water freezes. It will be like the level of freezing cracking in the refrigerator. The gradual freezing of the subsurface ocean will push the surface outward, cause the crust to crack. In fact, the image shows Pluto's crust over time has been stretched and broken. However, There is no evidence that this subsurface ocean, once completely frozen, if he freezes completely, water forms dense ice under high pressure. The so-called ice too, its volume will gradually decrease, and it will leave traces of global compression, like the crust sinking in. But New Horizons found no signs of such compression. Therefore, scientists speculate that there is still liquid water beneath Pluto. However, at surface temperatures as low as -0, deep within 382 degrees Fahrenheit of a distant planet, how can liquid water persist? Scientists believe that Pluto's core and daemon, they retain the heat of formation, and insulation plays a key role. A recent study shows that Pluto's icy shell may have a layer at the bottom, gas hydrate. It's essentially a mixture of gases like ice and methane. It acts as insulation. These are rich in methane. The dragon hydrate has extremely low thermal conductivity, can slow down heat loss, and prevents the ocean below from freezing. In addition, on high in the water acts as an antifreeze, allows the salt water to remain liquid at sub-zero temperatures. All this shows Pluto has an ocean world. It's just covered in a thick ice shell. This result makes Pluto and Europa, Titan, etc., other satellites with oceans under the same category. The difference is Pluto's oceans, without the attractive forces of nearby giant stars. The Heating 2020 study even proposes Pluto may have formed from a thermal origin. A strong impact can be rapid, generates enough energy to melt the inner ice, and from the beginning there is a liquid ocean. If so, Pluto's oceans, probably over 4 billion years old. This stunning perspective implies that this distant dwarf planet could be, it's more dynamic than people think, even more suitable for the existence of life. At the same time, on the surface of Pluto, shrouded in a thin atmosphere, that's nitrogen and trace amounts of methane, a ghostly blue mist. This fleeting, thin atmosphere is another big surprise for New Horizons. He caught Pluto's sunrise and the blue moon lit up at sunset. For some time, Pluto's atmosphere has been expanding. Around 1989, when the dwarf planet reaches perihelion, its frozen gas warms and sublimates. Atmospheric pressure increases. Ground observations show, from 1988 to 2016, as more nitrogen enters the atmosphere, Pluto's atmospheric pressure approximately increased, 3 times the original. But now, Pluto is on a 248-year orbit, away from the Sun. This trend has also begun to reverse. 2019, astronomers have studied Pluto's stellar phenomenon. They measured it. The result shows, since 2016, Pluto's atmospheric pressure has dropped over 20%. Another study conducted in 2018 also confirmed Pluto's atmosphere is indeed thinning. Pluto's gaseous state but begins to freeze and come down to the surface in pairs. If the current model is correct, this is a sign that Pluto's atmosphere is contracting. Scientists predict, by the 2030s, Pluto's atmosphere may freeze almost completely into surface ice during the long, cold winter, especially in the years after 2030, when the northern hemisphere is in darkness. The temperature will drop to an extremely low level, so much so that the remaining gas, nitrogen and methane, the sediment form of ice, adheres to the surface. Decades later, Pluto will become an ice hockey with no atmosphere. The sky will be very clear, only near sunny areas. There will be brief traces of moisture. In this cycle, it will continue to play out periodically. Centuries later, when the planet's south pole is tilted towards the sun again, as the ice sublimates again, the atmosphere will expand again. But for now, here's what we see. The atmosphere is contracting. As the pressure drops, blue objects observed by New Horizons will gradually disappear. And here's the interesting thing. with the surface of the planet. More areas are covered with reflective frost. Its overall brightness may increase slightly. Equally striking is, in 2015, when the new as horizons flies over the equatorial region of Pluto and found something completely unexpected. These landscapes are similar, dune formed by sharp action on Earth. They are usually located on vast glaciers and on the border of the mountains. For example, on the west side of Pluto's Sputnik plain, in an area 75 kilometers wide. It's all dunes like this. This new type of plain, the largest glacial plain in the solar system, and the location of the dunes, which happens to be an ice field, intersection with the Aldrasi Mountains. They form parallel raised terrain, ridges, although outwardly they resemble sand dunes. But the sand here is made of frozen methane, particle composition. However, in such a thin atmosphere, how are sand dunes formed? The pressure on the surface of Pluto is only 1 pascal, only a 100,000th of the Earth's atmospheric pressure, according to the prevailing scientific opinion. Such a thin atmosphere is unable to lift or move the grains of sand, but Pluto has its own way. During Pluto's solar day, Sputnik, solid nitrogen on the plains, ice can be sublimated directly to gas and release energy in the process. As the gas bomb expands and rises, it can briefly remove fine particles, take into the air. Scientists have proven that if methane is only a few hundred microns in diameter, the Bentley is lifted by this sublimation. Then the breeze on the surface of the planet. It's enough to pile these particles into sand dunes, and these particles are blown up by the wind. It is likely to be frozen methane from nearby mountains, although there may also be some nitrogen ice fragments. And because of spout, Nickelodeon is relatively young geologically, constantly updated by mobile projectiles, so the dunes themselves are relatively young, possibly formed within the last 500,000 years. Discovery of sand dunes on Pluto, highlighting the astonishing vitality of this distant planet. A thin atmosphere doesn't mean inactive. The atmosphere of Mars, by terrestrial standards, also very thin, but it has carbon dioxide dunes. Even Saturn's moon Titan is made of hydrocarbons, dune made of compound sand. Now, Pluto has joined the ranks. It is proved that under the conditions of low pressure and extreme cold in the K-Abo belt, planetary winds can still shape the landscape. After leaving Pluto, the Shinseno flew to a farther target, asteroid 486,958 in the Kuiper belt. The Chinese name is the Ends of the Earth. January 1, 2019. Detector, about 6.6 billion kilometers from the Sun. Flying by this tiny celestial body, bringing humans up close for the first time. Primitive Kuiper belt objects observed. It is made up of 2 irregular spheres, cleverly connected, shaped like a snowman. The celestial object is approximately 36 kilometers in length. The largest of these is about 21 kilometers in diameter. The other is about 15 kilometers away. Is a merger of 2 independent celestial bodies, a contact binary, according to the captured images. The craters on its surface are surprisingly smooth. The overall appearance is uniform red, and there are very few craters. In many ways, he seems to be so far the most primitive human beings have ever visited. The oldest celestial body, arguably a time capsule of the early solar system. One of the most striking features, it's a dome-like structure on the surface of a large sphere. Analysis of high-resolution images reveal the surface of a larger sphere called the horizon, covered with about a dozen broad mounds of Earth. Each is about 5 kilometers in diameter. The shape of these mounds, very similar size, color, and reflectivity. The smaller part is called the cape, may also contain some of these mounds. And here's the amazing thing. This object is so well preserved so that we can see it directly. The basics of the combination, building these mosaic-like structures, shows that it is formed through an extremely gentle process. Scientists believe that these mounds are made from the same piece of material, cloud-formed debris, rather than violent collisions. They seem to grow together and gradually merged siblings, based on the shape and chemical composition of the ends of the Earth. There's a lot of evidence for this. The two parts are connected at the point of contact, and their poles align with the equator. This suggests that the two celestial bodies once orbited each other and gradually spiral closer. In fact, neither part is a sphere. It's flat and slightly disc-shaped. This could be rotation, the result of a gentle merger of fragments on the disk. It is worth noting that the surface composition and face of the two parts, the color is extremely consistent. This suggests that the material that makes up this celestial body, possibly originating from the same local region of the solar nebula, if the ends of the Earth are through traditional hierarchies. Form of attack, that is, from random collisions, aggregate matter at different locations. So we would expect to see a lot more volition. However, all traces, elephants all point to a different formation mechanism. It's called the cloud beach shrinkage model. In this case, original, a dense mass of solid particles in the solar nebula, under its own attractive force, collapse into a star, skipped the violent collision stage. This discovery unravels the process of star formation, key clues that have long puzzled scientists. And planetesimals are the building blocks of planets. And here's the interesting thing. The dark red hue on the surface of this celestial body is no accident. He revealed the chemistry of the early solar system. New Horizons spectral measurements revealed the ends of the Earth are covered with methanol. Ice and complex organic molecules. Could be a substance called dephosphorization. It is worth noting that no trace of water ice was found on its surface. It's very puzzling. Because of water, ice is common in many outer solar system bodies. Even tiny comets and stars do not contain celestial bodies. Also often show signs of water. Its absence indicates that either the water is buried under the organic layer, or the conditions under which this celestial body formed, resulting in abnormally low water levels. Due to the abundance of organic matter on the surface, the reflection spectrum of the ends of the Earth appears red. This red substance is believed to be rich in characteristics of dephosphorization. Dephosphorization is caused by the initial methane. Simple structures like ethane, organic compounds, are formed under ultraviolet radiation. It was the precursor to the organic biomolecules that build life. It contains a lot of information under the right conditions, able to form amino acids and other building blocks of life. The presence of frozen methanol, another clue to the history of this celestial body. Methanol can be passed through radiation formation of water and carbon monoxide, or as primordial ice. It is less volatile than gases such as methane or nitrogen. Scientists believe that it may have existed on the ends of the Earth in the early days. Methane, anhi, hydrogen sulfide, and other more volatile weapons. But the attractive force here is so weak, the surface is so cold, so that for billions of years, these volatiles either escape or a chemical change has occurred. Detection of tumor-rich dephosphorylation indicates compounds like hydrogen sulfide used to exist and form part of the surface chemistry. Once these gases escape or coalesce into a solid, all that's left is red organic cream and methanol, remnants of ice. It's like an organic blue paint covering the surface. It has almost no water ice on its surface. Maybe the nebula region where the ends of the Earth are located is very cold. So much so that the water ice congealed into larger celestial bodies. In this celestial body, it is mainly composed of carbon-rich ice and dust. Anyway, its ingredients tell us. Planets are formed from many different materials. And look at these things up close can give us a deeper understanding. Chemistry in the outer solar system 4.5 billion years ago. These substances can pass through the coma. Stars and asteroids arrive at Earth, may have contributed to the emergence of the ingredients for life. Essentially, this inanimate celestial object, in a deeply frozen state, preserves organic materials from the early days of the sun's birth. Chemical composition. And these chemical components may represent the origin of life. The recipe, by the way, these findings inevitably raises the question, Pluto's subsurface ocean, is it possible that life exists? If Pluto, they've held it together for billions of years. State ocean, that means it has a stable water environment. This is what we currently know, required for all forms of life. The ocean may contain ammonia and salts. They don't just freeze. The role of the agent can also be used as a nutrient. And if Pluto's core can provide heat and chemical layers, then it can provide a source of energy. For example, hot nocturnal vents like the bottom of the Earth. Of course, currently, there is no evidence yet of life on Pluto. New Horizons is not equipped to search biological signs device. But on this distant cold planet, the very fact that there is an underground ocean just show Pluto may be bigger than scientists previously thought, more suitable for life, according to some scientists. If life existed in Pluto's subsurface ocean, not only are they protected from cosmic radiation, and it is also immune to extreme temperature fluctuations, they could be microbes or chemotrophs. Can be from rock. Energy is obtained by chemical reactions between stones and water. But this question, it may have to wait until future exploration. Test the task to know the answer. Shinseino's mission. Only a few short days on Pluto, and in the ends of the Earth, only a few hours. So the data available is very limited. But he has completely changed our understanding of these celestial bodies. It also attracts humans. The continuous exploration of the edge of the solar system.